Hi, it's Marco here. So today we look at another stock that has beaten the S&P 500, AMD, and we ask ourselves, will it be able to beat the S&P 500 again in 2022? And we don't beat around the bush on this channel. So we're gonna look at AMD as a company, first of all, and then look at the stock price and also the environment we are in. So first of all, I wanted to show you why AMD has become so popular among investors, but also among obviously customers. So as you can see, the distribution of Intel and AMD CPUs worldwide between 2012 and 2021. So you can see that AMD is the black one at the bottom, and that the gap between AMD and Intel is actually getting smaller and smaller. Intel, being the much bigger of the two, is actually losing shares to AMD. Now, what is interesting though is that Intel is a much bigger company. It's basically a giant. It's like 10 times bigger than AMD. I'm not gonna bore you with the details and the numbers, but just to tell you that AMD, to be able to pull these numbers, which is like about 40% of the market versus Intel that is 60%, well, you can see that AMD is actually much stronger, and there are reasons why market is being taken over by AMD, and I'm gonna tell you in just one second. And the reason is, well, you know that there is a company in my heart that is a very important part of my portfolio, and that is the reason, one of the reasons why AMD is becoming so popular and strong. And yes, you guessed it, you probably, if you are subscribed, you know that already, but AMD is one of the components of a Tesla car, that's simple as. So the more Teslas are sold, the higher the sales of AMD. And you know that there are many chips that go into a Tesla car. So again, there is this synergy between Tesla and AMD, which is very important. But another important factor is obviously innovation, and AMD is a company that actually shines quite a lot from that point of view. In fact, the CEO is playing to their strength. On one side, you have Intel, where they actually struggle to let the user be able to customize and actually do the most, make the most of these chips. Well, on the other hand of the spectrum, you have AMD, and let me show you. So AMD's new gen AM5 platform to have long-term support. So not only they let you like customize their chips and try to overclock, that's the keyword if you want to Google it and have a look, but probably you know that already. If you want to overclock your chips and get the most of your GPU, well, AMD allows you to do it. And also, as you can see, the CEO is very much in favor of getting you the best customers experience, and that is the reason, that is the secret juice, that is the secret sauce, guys. AMD values their customers, and that is one of the things that can make or break a company. Fantastic, but is the company doing well from a financial point of view, and how is it doing compared to, obviously we have the elephant in the room here, NVIDIA. Well, AMD, let me show you here in the chart. So again, this is ticker terminal, and it's quite good, to be honest, and free. So have a look for yourself, Google it, and the revenue are actually doing very well. So we still have an estimate for 2021 because we have another quarter that has to come in, and we're gonna make a review of their revenues when we have that quarter in. But the growth was a whopping 65% in 2021. Which is not bad at all. In 2022, we are expecting another about 19%, which is still, again, very, very good. But compared to NVIDIA, it's more or less the same. Now, even in terms of revenues, this is what is really interesting, that NVIDIA has got the same kind of number, 60% year-on-year growth for this year. It's, again, an estimate. And in 2023, we're gonna probably see exactly the same, which is interesting. But I know what you're thinking. AMD has got a much smaller market cap than NVIDIA, and so will it be a company that can potentially grow more? And actually, has it grown more than NVIDIA? Well, let me just show you quickly the numbers. So AMD has got a market cap of $165 billion versus NVIDIA, and the market cap is $673 billion. That's basically over 2 times what AMD has got as a market cap. So then let's have a look at the chart then. So I wanted to compare AMD to Nvidia, but also TSM. TSM is a very important company. They're actually the biggest manufacturer of chips on the planet, microchips. They are based in Taiwan. They are literally on their own. They own more than 75% of the production of microchips. So just to tell you that. So this date here in purple is when AMD were added to the S&P 500. So if you just move it across and we just compare the orange wiggly line, which is Nvidia versus AMD, you see that Nvidia and AMD are exactly on the same level. Incredible, isn't it? So it kind of tells you that Nvidia and AMD being in the same industry, the market cap is very different. Well, overall, if you buy Nvidia or AMD, you get more or less the same results, and obviously it's not exactly the same. The volatility, as you can see from basically the latest data, it's quite different. Like you have times where AMD is doing well, some other times where Nvidia is doing well and AMD is not doing well. But overall, you see the massive difference between a company with hype, and we're talking about Nvidia and AMD, versus TSM, which is, like I said, the market leader for microchips, but overall they have grown just 300% versus this 900 and 800%. And so we looked at the company as a whole and also the stock market price. But what is the current environment? And if you are a shrewd investor like myself, the first place you should actually go and check is the balance sheet of the Fed. Yes, so this is what the balance sheet of the Fed is. Let me just show it to you. So at the time of recording, we see that there is not much change. Again, it's something we've been talking about, and unless you've been living under a rock, basically, you would know that the Fed is trying to cut their amount of money they're pumping into the market. But as you can see from the chart, this is the overall view. But if you look for the last year, so from January 2021 until today, you see that the trend is kind of a linear trend. So the amount of money they're pumping into the system looks more or less exactly the same. It's crazy. So we haven't seen any kind of slowdown yet. And you might be thinking, why are you telling me that, Marco? Well, if you've been subscribed, you know that if you reduce the amount of money that gets pumped into the bond market, well, you have one thing that happens. The bond yield will go through the roof. So looking at the chart, what is the yield curve telling us? So although we have the Federal Reserve still pumping a lot of money, and you see maybe a little drop, nothing like major, a little drop, we see that the yield curve, which is here on Market Watch, if you want to go and have your own look at it, it looks completely different from last year. This is literally a year ago versus current. So you see that the yield curve is much higher, meaning that in the short term, we see a much higher inflation, and that's why the yield is so high, because the reason to invest in bonds is just to fight inflation, to kind of basically maintain your purchasing power. Obviously, it's not the case yet with the Fed still pumping money into the bond market, but this is where we are heading, with the Fed like just stepping away from it, at least that's what they say, and then letting the bond market and the yield of the bond market rise. So overall, do I think that AMD will beat the market in 2022? I think that based on all the Fed increases that will happen in 2022, and I'm pretty sure they will happen because inflation is actually killing us, guys. So short term, 2022, I am feeling quite cautious to see that this company and all the other companies that have been hyped over the months, years, all the tech basically, might have a pretty major pullback every time we see the rate increase. And so for the long run, it's still a very strong business. And so I'm looking at waiting until there are these increases, rate increases, to then open a very decent position with AMD. I'm already in Nvidia for the moment, and I'm also looking at having a position with AMD. And also I want to make more videos on AMD because I'm still thinking that you need to keep track of the companies you buy. Obviously, you want to know if they're still doing very well from a mode point of view, from a selling point of view, or if they start to struggle a bit. So subscribe for more AMD stock videos. See you in my next video.